Konnichiwa. Arigato. How are you? I hope you're fine. We're going to start off today with T. What is this? T part 3 or something? I don't know. T2 would be Boomland. I don't have that one. I wish I did. Uh, we're going to start off with Tongue and Groove from 1968. Tongue and Groove. Looks real psychedelic, doesn't it? It's not. It's blues. It's got some psych on here, I suppose. Great psychedelic cover. Ooh, man. What's going on with that? Tongue and Groove. It's blues rock with female vocals. It's compared to Spooky Tooth. A lot of filler. I give it 3.5 stars. Nice bluesy rock with good female vocals like Janis Joplin and great slide guitar. Is it psych? No, I'm sorry. If you're looking for psych, you won't get it. If you're looking for a good electric blues, uh, who's the woman in this? Lynn Hughes was the woman in Tongue and Groove. Of course, Tongue and Groove sounds kind of naughty, doesn't it? No, what Tongue and Groove means is it's a form of building furniture. Like, you got the tongue in the groove and it holds it together. Okay, so it's featuring Lynn Hughes. It says, it's groovy. It's groovy music. Well, it's kind of groovy. It's pretty good. 3.5 stars. Blues rock. Okay. The next one is another one of those weird synthesizer bands. And there were Silver Apples was really good, I thought. This one's almost as good. It's Tano's Expanding Headband. So they are going for a psychedelic vibe there, I would say. The best, this is from 1971. It's a New York group. It's spacey. It's electronic music. It's on Embryo Records. Embryo had a few avant-garde things, some jazz and stuff. I say that Tama is the best cut. It's all instrumental except for River Song, which is a long cut, and River Song has processed vocals, so it's not quite human. But it's pretty good stuff. They use the Tonto synthesizer. You always think, is this like the Lone Ranger's partner, Jay Silverheels? No, it's not. It's Tonto stood for the original New Timbral Orchestra. The original New Timbral Orchestra. So sorry, Jay. We're not giving you a reference here. It's slightly psychedelic. Of all people, Stevie Wonder promoted them. And you got to thank him for that. He kind of expanded our consciousness a little bit with this Tonto. Not essential. Some people might think so. Okay, this next band is Top Drawer, and I mean it because they are top drawer, solid oak. Top Drawer. Where were these guys from? Somewhere in the South. Oh, here they are. They're from Kentucky, 1969. This is a reissue. This is one of those rare cases where the band members actually controlled the music and they reissued it themselves on the same label. Originally, it was on the Solid Oak Wishbone label. Solid Oak Wishbone. And this is the Solid Oak Wishbone reissue. What do we got in here? Heavy psych rock, excellent lead guitar, leans towards TIME, Trusting Men Everywhere. We like those guys. Or Sacred Mushrooms, so it's kind of bluesy. Not trippy, but solid 60s hard rock. Good songs include the 8-minute mellow psych, Song of a Sinner. Ooh, 8 minutes. It drags a little bit, only give it 3 stars, but it's still worth, 8-minute psych, Song of a Sinner. You gotta have something in there you like. What Happened is funny 60s rock, give it 4 stars. Middle Class is 4 stars. It's melodic and it's rocking. And Messed Up, man, is 4-star psyche jams. Finally, Lies is a 5-star psych punk. So here we go. 1969. It's Top Drawer, man. It's got the stuff. This was a limited reissue of 500 pressed. The original's pretty steep. I think originals are a really good investment, especially like if the record is unavailable. And lots of times, like on Bent Wind, the reissue ends up being worth some money too, because they don't issue that many. I mean, how many people want to buy Top Drawer? Okay, this next one, this is bizarre stuff. It's from 1968 from Portland, Oregon. We have what some people regard as the first progressive album, and it's from 1968. It's Touch. Now, we always think of prog as being from Europe or being from the UK, Canterbury scene, but no, it started here. Look at that. Behold and see. What do you see in here? Just a bunch of words, lyrics, and stuff. That's really interesting. I don't think there's any other album that has this type of graphics on it. There they are floating through the cosmos. Oh, man. These guys are wild. This one opens from the top. This is like the French version of the White Album, the Beatles' White. It also opens from the top. So it's on Coliseum Records. Had some stuff on here that was pretty good. What do we say here? 4-star. Great progressive. 1968. Now, how could there be a progressive album in 68? Well, everybody was experimenting in the 60s, always trying to come up with the latest thing, the newest thing. And these guys, they had a background in classical and jazz and so forth. They were related to the Kingsmen. Louie Louie. They went quite a ways from the Kingsmen era. It's sort of like Yes. It's similar to King Crimson's first album. Man, that's good company. Um, it wasn't as good though. The soloing they said was kind of indulgent. They didn't know what they were doing. It was the '60s. Of course, it was indulgent. You got like a 27-minute version of the Pusher. You got Inagata Vita. That's pretty indulgent, I would say. But there's some psych on here. It's a psych. It's the first prog. It's psychedelic. It's Touch. It's a good album. At least 3 stars. Okay, what else we got here? Only one of my most favorite bands of all time. These guys are from 1972, Manchester, UK. It's Tractor. Ooh, look at that cool Tractor. This is a reissue. It's not an original. It's on Thunderbolt Records. This is one of my favorite records of all time. You gotta take the journey. Make the journey. Ooh, this is so good. Tractor. Little Girl in Yellow. Make the journey. It's got that cosmic mind at play, just like another band. These guys are really, really good. It's progressive. It's got some psych stuff. It's got some hard rock, but it's so fabulous. It's got just the vibes are just right up there. Shubunkin all ends up Ravenscroft 13-bar boogie. It's a mix of stuff, but it's really great. Get it? It's just is it psych? It's kind of like the end of psych, but it's got that psych vibe to it. It's Make the Journey is a wonderful cut. You gotta make the journey. Tractor. Mystical. Can't say enough about this one. Killer stuff. This next band, you've heard about all these guys. You know them. Very magical band. The cover shows Traffic, of course, with Steve Winwood and Jim Capaldi and Chris Wood. and it doesn't show it, but Dave Mason also plays on this album. But apparently the other three guys didn't get along with Mason very well. They kept firing him. So he left the band. He recorded this album with them, and then he left. But this was a wonderful album. This was like recorded on an island somewhere. They hung out at somebody's house, and they just kind of, the four guys actually, just hung out and just came up with some songs. And they're brilliant. It's psychedelic. It's got that jazz vibe. Winwood had good keyboard chops, jazz. And of course, Dave Mason always had great pop sensibility. But every song in here is wonderful. 1967, wonderful mix of psych and jazz and blues and progressive, sort of like Spirit in that sense. The first version of this cover, it said "Heaven is in Your Mind" by Traffic, but "Dear Mr. Fantasy" was such a hit, they said, "Stop the presses. Now, this is not Heaven in Your Mind. This is Traffic Mr. Fantasy." So they did rename the album. If you can get a Mr. Fantasy cover, it's better. It's worth some more money. Oh man, I don't think I know this one because it's a 5-star psych. Everything is good on here. United Artists, of course. What do we got here? Paper Sun, because it's only a paper sun. Dealer, great kind of Spanish, wonderful, about a drug dealer. Colored Rain, oh, so good. Hole in My Shoe, this is pop with a psych edge to it. Some of it's jazzy. I'm looking for a girl that has no name. She has no place or number. This will just move you. It'll just take you to places that you don't want to leave. It's so beautiful. Heaven is in Your Mind, guiding your vision to heaven, and heaven is in your mind. Great spiritual sensibility. These guys, they were not old, but they had old person sensibility. Houses for Everything, Berkshire Poppies, Giving to You, Smiling Faces. That was a Dave Mason. Dear Mr. Fantasy, play us a tune. Sort of like Mr. Tambourine Man. Yeah, it's great stuff, man. 5-star psych. You gotta have it if you don't have it. And the reissue came out with a red cover, which it showed the house where they were recording. And I believe this was, I know this was the American original because I bought it back then. Essential album, must have. Mason came back again for the second album, and I think this is their best album. It's less psychedelic than the first one. It's got a lot of Mason compositions on it. It's Traffic by Traffic. And this time they were thoughtful enough to put Dave Mason on the cover. There's the traffic symbol. 5-star album. Less psych, more pop. Still great stuff on here. Man, Dave Mason does Feeling Alright. I'm not feeling so good myself. He does, he wrote, Vagabond Virgin's really good. No Time to Live. Steve Winwood did 40,000 Headmen. Great song. Pearly Queen. I'm in a Pearly Queen. Really great stuff. And I think that's about a drag queen. Hey, I tell you, the 60s in some ways were more forgiving than we are today. No Time to Live. Oh, man. Now, apparently Dave Mason got kind of bossy and is trying to tell everybody, hey, that's not so good. Do it this way. And the other three guys said, get out. They kicked poor Dave Mason out again. But this was still a wonderful album. I'm so glad. What did Mason do? He recorded one of the greatest soul albums of all time, 1970. Dave Mason, Alone Together. There's old Dave. This is on Blue Thumb Records. Kind of a gimmicky cover. There's Dave right there. Hey, Dave, how's it going, man? It's pretty good. I met Dave Mason. There was a chain of stores think it was Best Buy's, that actually featured Dave Mason on a traveling tour. He gave a little concert, and this is just like 10 years ago. And then I asked him afterwards, I said, Dave, what's your favorite album? I thought he'd say this one, Alone Together. And he said, my favorite album is the one I'm working on right now. Wow, that's a great answer. This is Blue Thumb Records, and the cool thing about this, it's on splash colored vinyl. Oh man, is it Psych? No, it's not Psych. Dave Mason, he was a popster. He was like Paul McCartney. He played the pop, but he was brilliant, and he had a great. And this is a 5-star solo album. Shouldn't have took more than you gave. Only you know and I know. World in Changes. It's not Psych, but Mason kind of got even with these guys, just thumbing his nose at him and saying, I'm just as good as you are, haha. It's all good, guys. We don't need to fight. This is kind of an interesting soundtrack from '68. It features Spencer Davis, of course, Winwood was from Spencer Davis, and Traffic. And there's 3 unreleased Traffic songs on here, including there's a sitar song on here that's it's pretty good. Utterly Simple is a sitar psych, so not essential, but it's fun. If you got to have everything by Traffic, and who doesn't? Here was the last Traffic album. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention, they were from Birmingham, UK. And this was kind of like the contractual obligation album, Last Exit from 1969, with the traffic symbol showing their faces. Now, the thing about this album, it's kind of leftovers. It's like whatever was left with the tapes. Some of this stuff was outtakes from the second album, which was a brilliant album. But there's some good stuff on here. It's got 2 live cuts, which are not very good. But it's got Withering Tree, Shanghai Noodle Factory, and of course that great song, that good old medicated goo. Ooh, it's good for you. Medicated goo. So it's kind of poppy, kind of goofy. It doesn't hang together like their other albums because it's not a kind of a concept album the way their others were. It's just like, this is what we got left, guys. We're busted. Well, what happened to the band? Steve Winwood left to go to Blind Fate, which only lasted a year because Eric Clapton can't stick with anything more than a year or two. And who can get along with Ginger Baker? So it's kind of a sad story. They came back. Winwood started a solo project, and the other 2 guys came back and joined him. And that was John Barleycorn Must Die. But it wasn't any kind of psych at that point. It was all kind of progressive stuff. And Traffic went on to record a number of great albums. Okay. What do we got? What do we got here? We got this, we got that. Oh, go on with this one. I'm going to have to stop after this one. We're going to have a key part 2. Here's some Vanguard Insanity. Train by Custom Cuties. I mean, you should say Custom Cuties by Train. Oh, dear. This was from New York City, 1970. I give it 3 stars. It's a keyboard-dominated progressive psych. They look like they're dressed up like they're pioneers or something here. This guy looks like he's a colonial. They're all colonials. From New York City. What do you expect? It's I call it like Procol Harum. It's progressive psych. It's 1970 after a while. There's some good songs on here. Oink Oink is good. Dreams. Bishop Pawn 3, and Road Race. So we got about 4 really good songs on here. Road Race is 4 minutes. Oink Oink. A decent little prog psych. Not essential. It's 3 stars. You got to have some good stuff on here to get 3 stars from me. You can't coast. No coasting, guys. And that's it for T Part 1. Join me for T Part 2. The wonders never stop.